All right. Hey, hello everyone. I hope you're having a better end of the week than you did the start of the week. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you're all being healthy and smart, and thanks for everything you've done this week to help your community and your team members get through this just unprecedented time. Today's webinar that the Washington Hospitality Association wanted to bring together, webcast, I should say, as I'm trying to become technologically savvy, is intended to help answer a whole bunch of questions that we all have on unemployment insurance, and hopefully get you to a point where you're able to either apply, help your teammates or your workers get access, and get off to a strong foot as we go from here. Joining me today are Scott and Kris from the Employment Securities Department. Welcome, Scott and Kris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to have you introduce yourselves in just a minute. But what I would love to do is we'll walk through some of the basics you need to know. We'll talk about some of the big questions that we've been getting here at the association. And then we really want this to be a great thing from you. So you can type in questions over here in the chat box. We'll get them. I've got several questions that have been sent to me by members that I'll be asking as well throughout the call. And this will be webcast. So if this information is great and you want to show it to your team or neighbors later, you'll be welcome to do so. So with that, Scott, why don't we start with you? Thank you so much for joining and helping us help the industry right now. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your title, your background with ESD.
Yes. So my official title is the Legal Services Coordination Manager, which sounds awfully bureaucratic. But my two main roles are, one, help represent the agency in unemployment tax appeals. And something that's been more at the forefront these days is helping with drafting unemployment statutes and writing unemployment rules and emergency rules. So a lot of the emergency rules that we've been running over the past couple of weeks are stuff that I happen to write. So I'm glad to help share them with you and share with you how we're trying to use these rules to help both industries and the employees who they hire.
Great. And Scott, I'm going to have you go into detail on some of those things here in a little bit. But Kris, can you do the same? Tell us about yourself. And again, thank you so much for being here to help the industry today.
Oh, you're very welcome. My actual title is Lead Policy Analyst. I've been with the agency almost 20 years, and I've done positions from, I came in 20 years ago in intake right before 9/11. So I was a claims taker at the time. So I've been experienced through a couple of recessions already. So this is not completely new to me. I also worked in the side of the house that makes eligibility decisions, doing adjudication. I've been a trainer, and I've been in policy for the last almost 10 years. What we do in policy works very closely with what Scott's unit does, looking at the rules and applying them and the state statutes and everything. And my basic job is to help our policy staff with guidance, responding to questions that might come into ESD and other sorts of things like that.
Well, it sounds like the two of you are the right people to help us today. So thank you again so much for joining us. Let's jump into it a little bit. I just want to see how you're doing. As of last Saturday, it was a whole nother world. And then obviously with the governor's announcement to protect us all on the spread of the virus, suddenly in our industry alone, we probably have well over 200,000 people all of a sudden scrambling for unemployment insurance or standby or what can we do? A lot of them have never been in the system before. I can't imagine what your world's like. I've grown up in restaurants. So this would be akin to the entire Safeco field showing up at my restaurant on a Friday night and saying, feed me. And so are you doing okay? Is your team doing okay?
Well, we're working really hard to try to help figure out and make sure that everybody can get what they're eligible for.
Good. Well, let's start with the basics. And Scott and Kris, I'm not sure who's going to be able to tackle what, but most people have not been real experienced with ESD or the unemployment insurance system. So if they just want to get started, Lex, I believe we have our unemployment page up. What are like the first 4 things that an unemployment insurance rookie would need to do to start getting themselves acquainted with the system?
Well, the page that you have up actually gives a step-by-step process that you can go through to determine whether or not you should file a claim. We encourage people to go ahead and file, even if you're not sure what your eligibility is, just because you may think you're not eligible, but you may end up being. So this page is really helpful to know what you need to do, what steps you need to take, what information you need to have available when you file. It also gives links to our e-services page where you can file for benefits online. Now, if you are going to file online, you do need to have a Secure Access Washington or SAW account in order to access our e-services portal. Many other state agencies right now are using SAW as well. So for example, if you have an account online set up with Department of Licensing, you can use your same login for that to sign up for e-services with us. So that does make it easy, but you do need to have that login information prior to actually filing a claim on our e-services site. If you feel more comfortable doing it by phone, you definitely can call the claim centers. Now, as you can imagine, the claim center's call volume is very high right now. So there is probably a good wait time. If they sometimes they have the callback feature on as well. So sometimes you can leave your number and they will call you back. But we try to drive most of our applications towards online because you can complete that any time of the day because it's open 24/7.
This is probably an obvious, but what languages is this website available in? We have people from communities around the world and backgrounds from around the world that work in our industry. Is this available in Spanish and other languages?
E-services is available in English and Spanish. If there is a language other than those two that you need to speak in order to file a claim, it's best to talk to an agent on the phone.
Right.
And because we do have translators that actually work in our claim centers, and if there is not someone who speaks that specific language, we can get a translator on the phone.
Okay. If it's possible, what I'd love to do, and you talked about, even if you don't know if you're eligible, go ahead and apply. The state of Washington has got one of the better safety nets in the country to help people. Lex, can you go to the next tab on COVID-19? I know the governor's office, or maybe it was your office, put this together, and it is available as a link on our website. Ian and Lex, make sure at the end of the call that each one of these things we're showing is available as a link, easily for members to find. Can you walk us through, if you're able, this a little bit? When should they apply to you, and maybe when should they do some of these other things? And if not, we can just leave this up as a guide for others if it's not something you're comfortable with.
Well, generally speaking, things are changing so rapidly. This chart is probably pretty accurate as we stand right now, and we do know that there may be more emergency rules put in place that might change things, but I believe this chart is fairly accurate for now. Basically, for unemployment benefits, if you are ill, unable to work, unable to search for work, basically you are down and out for the count. You would not be eligible for unemployment insurance, but you might be eligible for paid family and medical leave. They are two separate programs. That's important to note within ESD, and we only deal with the unemployment insurance. Paid family medical leave has their own laws and rules that apply to what you could be eligible for them. But I can say that you can't be eligible for both at the same time.
You said cannot?
Cannot be eligible for both in the same week.
Okay, well, we'll leave this chart up there, and hopefully it'll help guide people as they're trying to make decisions of which of the Washington State's options are the best option for them. Let's go on to our next topic here. Let's go back to the original tab. Oh, please, go ahead.
I was just going to add, when you're preparing all of your documents or your information to file your unemployment claim, it's important to make sure you know all of your employers that you worked for the last 18 months, the dates you worked for them, and your reason for separation for each of those employers. Right now, most of the hospitality industry is closing down. So those, because of the governor's orders, so those would be considered a lack of work. Some employers are keeping people working at a reduced hours, that working reduced hours. So there's a different separation reason that they can choose for that. So make sure that all of this information is available as you're filing your claim, especially online, because if you have to stop and go search for something, you might time out of the application.
Okay.
So it's really important to have all of that stuff available.
So it sounds like it's really important. So I'm going to repeat it back. If you're going to apply online or call in, before you do it, sit down and write out your work history for the past
18 months.
18 months,
Mm-hmm.
including start and stop dates and why you separated.
Yes.
Is there anything else someone should do before they pick up the phone or start clicking through the website?
But basically, that should be all that's needed. Well, I mean, if somebody is attending school, that there's questions about that, as well as availability issues. If you're self-employed, because some people have a side hustle, so we want to make sure that we capture those kind of things also. So that information might be helpful as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, I think this is you, but many of the people on the phone are employers. And as small businesses, sudden layoffs of their team is something they've never even thought they would have to do in their lifetime. In fact, many of them have been in business for years and never had an unemployment insurance claim, and they state that with pride. What can employers do to make it easier on their team, or to be organized so their team is more successful in the system? What are the tools that they might take advantage of?
So the two biggest tools for helping claimants and people who are being laid off that I want to highlight here is the first is standby, and I'm already seeing lots of questions in the chat about standby and what we're doing about that. So just for your community who doesn't know what standby is a program that allows individuals who are temporarily laid off with an anticipated return to work date. It doesn't have to be precise. We just need, what is your best guess as to what your return to work date is? We anticipate that we're going to be bringing these people back as soon as the 50-person restriction is lifted and bars and restaurants are allowed to open from the governor's order. And if that's what the return to work date is, then we'll take it. That's great. We'll go with that. So folks who are on standby currently, right now, they need to be, employees can self-attest to 4 weeks, and then if employers approve it, they can be on there for up to 8 weeks. We're looking through rules right now. In fact, I was doing some emailing this morning to make sure that to try to see if we can expand that. And so we know that this is a popular tool. People are getting a little frustrated with the short amount of standby that's available. So we are looking at rules right now to see if we can fix that for folks moving forward. So stay tuned. Something expansive could be coming even in the next day or two.
Lex, can you go back up to the main unemployment insurance page here? Lex, by the way, is our phenomenal communications director we're blessed to have. And right now he is being my backseat driver. Is there a place on the website that, as they're not taking notes fast enough, they can read a little bit more of the differences between standby and shared work and regular unemployment?
I can
That's okay.
I am not sure.
Yes, there is. Let me find it real quick. So the link is, it's probably easier just to type in the search box, temporary layoff.
Okay.
and click, yeah. And so that's that first link right there.
Awesome.
And so if you scroll down, there you go, to request standby. There's information right there.
Outstanding.
Now, just so you know, this reflects the official rules, not the emergency rules. So the information is a little bit different for the emergency rules, but the process is pretty much the same.
Okay. Well, I don't want to take you too far off, Scott. I just wanted to, as people are going, I know some of them are going to be scrambling to write, and maybe they just wanted to be able to click on it later as they got the better understanding. So didn't mean to interrupt you, Scott. Can you keep going?
Oh, no, yeah, that's fine. And one of the things that we've done with Standby over the past couple of weeks is we expanded it from something that was only available to full-time employees, and then we took out that full-time requirement and we made it available to full-time and part-time employees. So even if you have part-time employees, you can still put them on standby so that they can claim benefits that way. Now, the difference between somebody who is on standby and somebody who is laid off and not expected to return to work is that somebody who is on standby does not have to conduct a work search in order to be available for claims. They don't have to be trying to find work anywhere and everywhere. So this is a great opportunity for folks who want to hang on to their workforce and not have them being required to look for other work while they are claiming unemployment benefits. The only requirement is that they have to stay in reasonable contact with their employer in case something pops up. You know, if you decide that you really want to ramp up your delivery or takeout options and you want to bring some people back, the people who are on standby just have to be within reasonable contact so they can come back if they want to ramp up any sort of delivery or takeout options for restaurants who decide to go that route over the course of the next few weeks. So that is the one of the best things with standby. So folks who are filing their claim can ask for standby when they do it. We will be sending out forms to employers whenever anybody files a claim. And part of that form within the first couple of pages lets you know, hey, do you want to put this person on standby? Please fill that out and say, yes, I want this person on standby, and send it back to us. So either you get your forms from us through the mail, which is true for a lot of employers, or through signing up for your own e-services account with the Employment Security Department. You can also get those forms that way, and then you don't have to worry about somebody being in the office to open the mail.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go for it.
Right now, so our computer system was built based on the standby rules that you saw on that web page. The claims that have been filed over the last couple of weeks who have requested part-time standby for part-time workers, it goes in and it denies those up front because that's not the way our system was built. So we are having a tremendous amount of denials that we are working to overturn, and that's a manual process. Just be assured that even if they received a denial letter and the only reason that they were denied is because they were part-time workers, they will end up being eligible for standby. It's just a manual process that we have to go through right now until we can get our computer system updated to the rapidly changing landscape that we're working with right now. This all came on very quickly, and so our system didn't have a chance to get it updated as quickly as we would like.
No, and that was a very important point. I want to repeat that for everyone. If your employee gets rejected, encourage them to call. So their next step, Kris, would be what?
Wait for us to redetermine the issue. Calling the claim center just actually bogs down the process in the claim center so nobody can get through. We will send out a new letter to the employer and the claimant regarding their standby status. So they'll get an initial letter saying, no, you're denied because you are a part-time employee. They'll get a new letter that says, hey, we've redetermined this and you are now allowed on standby.
Okay, so don't panic.
Yeah.
Wait it out. How long should they wait before they should get concerned on that follow-up?
My understanding is we've gotten well over 10,000 standby denials for part-time employment. So they're working on a fix to send the letters out this weekend. I can't guarantee that it will happen all at once, but that's what I've been told by our IT department.
Okay. So if by mid next week they've not heard anything, what would be their next step?
Well, they could send an email to the layoff assistance email box, and I think that's on that page that you've got open, but let me see. No, it's not.
I'll tell you what, if you could send that to us, Kris, later,
Okay.
we will have a Q&A. Ian, if you're with us, if next Wednesday comes and I haven't heard back on a denied letter, what do I do? And then maybe, Kris, we can put an email in that Q&A that people can have access to.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I think we're still on standby, and Scott, you mentioned there's some tools a couple of tools for employers that can use to help people. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover? Oh,
Yes, just so before I shift to that other tool, I do see some rules, some questions in the chat about folks claiming sick leave while on standby. So folks who are collecting other forms of paid leave, such as sick pay or vacation pay, will have that deducted from their unemployment benefits. You can't get sick pay and unemployment benefits at the same time. So any other pay that you get, even if it's a pension, does have to be deducted from your unemployment benefits. So please don't claim both at the same time. If you want your full allotment of unemployment benefits, claim your unemployment benefits. But as far as sick pay, let's not take your sick leave beforehand. Kris, you sounded like you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that is based on each weekly claim that's filed. So if they file a weekly claim and they received sick pay allotted to that week, that's the week that it needs to be reported. So if they cashed out all of their sick leave before they ever filed an unemployment claim, then that doesn't have to be reported. But each week that they file a weekly claim for benefits, if they receive any kind of pay during that week, it has to be reported, and it does get deducted from their weekly benefit amount for that week.
All right.
So they're better off using one benefit at a time each week to get the most and longest period of time of the financial assistance they need.
That's correct. And to a certain extent, most paid sick leaves are going to give them full wage replacement. Unemployment is still partial wage replacement. So if you're looking for the most money, use your sick leave first and then go to unemployment once your sick leave runs out, because unemployment's not going to give you as much money as your paid sick leave.
Okay. All right.
So the next tool I want to mention and highlight is shared work. And shared work is an alternative. And if you want to pull up the application tab right there, shared work is an alternative that allows people to do partial reductions in staff. So instead of taking your favorite employee and laying them off completely, you can reduce their hours from 10 to 50%. So make them a half-time employee, and then unemployment can step in and make up the difference for them. And then, so instead of collecting a full unemployment check because they're fully unemployed, they can collect a 50% unemployment check to make up for the half time that you laid them off for. So this is another great way to still keep employees that you value on staff. They do not have to go to work, they do have to go to work if you're offering them jobs, but they don't have to look for other work for other employers. So that's another way that you can make life easier for your staff. And then also you're still keeping them gainfully employed to the extent you can. So there's an application process there for how to apply. So include that information. One of the big things you need to do with your shared work employees is you also need to continue to pay them benefits. So any sort of health plan or retirement plan that you have them on, you have to continue to offer that for them. If you don't have a health plan or a retirement plan for them, you don't have to invent one in order to get shared work. But if you have one already, you do need to continue that for the employees you place on shared work. And so that's the application process. Getting your employees on shared work is great. If you end up that as much as you hate to do it, you have to completely lay them off. You can still shift from shared work to standby.
Okay.
And if somebody that you have on standby, you're able to bring back at halftime, you can shift them from standby to shared work. So these are two interchangeable options that you can use as you need to in order to help hang on to the staff that you want to hang on to.
Okay. Is it the employer who applies for shared work or the employee?
This is employer initiated. So the employer has to fill out an application and get the application approved.
Okay. Any other tools that employers can use to help their employees through these brutal times? Or anything else you'd recommend employers can do to help their teams through the UI system?
So as a general premise, first, heading into anytime we send you a questionnaire form or anything about anybody's unemployment claim, pay attention to it, send it back to us right away with whatever information you think we need to know about that person. Second.
Can I add on to that, Scott?
Oh, please do.
So when somebody files a claim and reports a separation from you as the employer, you're going to get a request for separation information letter that tells you why they separated. If the reason for the separation is not correct, we really do need you to respond to those and tell us what the real reason for separation is. If the claimant told us that the reason for separation was a lack of work, standby information will also pop up on that particular letter. So if you want them on standby for a particular time period, whether the claimant had requested it or not, you can go ahead and add them on there. Just keep in mind current rules are 8 weeks, which we are working on. But it is really important to get back to us with that information.
Okay. Everyone on the call, we are going to get to your questions. I'm just going to have, after Scott goes here, one more thing, and then we're going to start going through the questions we got during the week and the questions we're getting online. So, Scott, we cut you off. Do you have a couple of other things employers should know in helping their employees?
Yeah, so a couple other things that will help us out is that starting in April, employers know that the first quarter unemployment tax reports are due at the end of April. However, there are going to be a lot of employees who are going to need their first quarter wages in order to qualify for an unemployment claim because they don't have enough prior work history to hit the 680-hour threshold. And there's been a lot of questions I've seen about the 680-hour threshold. Is that something that we can waive or limit? Unfortunately, that is something that was written in statute that has not been that was not amended by the legislature before they went home and ended their session. So that is something that, as of today, is still the threshold that we have to hold everyone to. So if you do not have 680 hours, we cannot qualify you for a claim. But let's say that if at the end of the month you hit your 680-hour threshold, we're able to help people out. What we need employers to do, though, is we need them to promptly file their unemployment tax reports with their first quarter wages as soon as possible. Because what that does is that allows the employees who need those first quarter wages in the system to get set up with a claim earlier. If we get your tax report on April 3rd, we can set up the employee with a claim without having to go through any sort of question hassle. We don't have to bug you for their first quarter wages. You don't have to send us something back. If you just have your tax report in the system, the computer will save that for us. And so filing your reports earlier helps us get your employees who need those first quarter wages set up with a claim earlier as well and get those unemployment benefits out to them as soon as we can. Okay. And then the other thing that's going to be a real big help to us, as you've probably heard, we've had a huge spike in unemployment claims. 2 weeks ago, we had 7,000 people file a claim On Monday, we had 20,000 people file a claim. Tuesday, it was 25,000 people. So we are getting 3-4 times as many claims as we get in a week in a single day, many days in a row. So if you have any employees, we are looking who you were sad to see let go. We would be happy to have them, especially if they're in the Olympia and Spokane area. We are hiring claims agents because everyone's complaining about the long wait times and phone calls. Well, send us your best and your brightest, and we will be happy to put them to work, helping other people with their unemployment claims.
And finding that job will be on your main page if you'd like to come to work for you, Scott, or if we've got a great customer service people in the Olympia, or what other area did you say?
Spokane
area, and we know someone who just gives great customer service and does well. Where do they come find you to do that? Because I'm sure
so yeah, you can find that on our worksource.wa.gov. That's where we have our job page. Also, just generically for all state government, there's also careers.wa.gov, and that's the job pages, job boards for all of the state of Washington.
I can give you a website directly to jobs with employment security. I just looked it up. It's esd.wa.gov/ESD jobs. One word.
Awesome.
There you go.
Well, I think we all have people we care about right now who are needing assistance or needing a job. So I think all the stuff we can do, and I'll talk more about other opportunities in a minute. Any other employer tools, Kris? And then I want to talk about some of the main changes. All the things we thought we knew about unemployment, or not a lot of the things we thought we knew about unemployment at the beginning of March. Many of them have changed. Even for us, people who have been around unemployment for a long time, we may not know the answers we thought we knew. So, Lex, if you go back to that second tab there on the main ESD page, one over. Can you walk us through the main changes that have occurred since the beginning of the month that people who aren't familiar with the way it was before should keep in mind?
You mean as far as the emergency rules go?
Well, I believe we have emergency rules. I think there was funding, the extension of standby. There was, you hear a bunch of different people talk about the different things that have changed. So what are the highlights of the things that have changed since the beginning of the month? I guess emergency rules would be the biggest one.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to start off with something that the governor did earlier this week. There was a statute that required all claimants to wait a waiting week before they could get paid $1 of unemployment benefits. The governor has, through his emergency powers, basically said that statute doesn't apply anymore. So folks who were required to wait a waiting week before they could claim unemployment benefits no longer have to wait a waiting week. They can get unemployment benefits right away. So we're still working on catching up our computers with the governor's mandate. But that is something that if we can't get you a check this week because the governor said so, we'll try to get you that check later on down the road as soon as we can get the computers to catch up with that.
Okay.
Something else that we did with our emergency rules is we also adopted a lot of forgiveness and grace for both claimants and employers who are facing COVID-19 related issues. Employers who are sick or have to temporarily shut down their business because of a COVID-19 infection are offered good cause for late filing of tax reports. Employers who have to shut down their business because of a COVID-19 infection at the place of business, so not just a general governor order, but somebody came in with an infection that caused you to shut down, are eligible for relief of benefit charges for the benefits that are paid to those employees. So those benefits don't count against your tax rates. Employers impacted by COVID-19 who place their employees on standby are potentially eligible to apply towards a $25 million pot of money the legislature set aside for employees who are indirectly or directly impacted by COVID-19. So we are still working on rules defining the full scope of this program, but the legislature did set aside $25 million to buy down unemployment benefit charges on employer tax rates for employers who put their employees on standby and then take them back once standby is over. So stay tuned for more rules and updates about that, because that's an exciting pot of money there. But it is a pot of money that's going to be divided proportionately across all employers who qualify. So the more employers we get, unfortunately, the smaller the pot of money that's going to be available for them. But it is something that the legislature was generous to set aside for employers.
And we strongly advocated for that relief. And that was before the restaurant and hotel closures because of the impact that was already occurring in the industry. Is there anything in the federal bill that I believe passed last night, or for the employees, is going to impact anything this week? And when will those things take place if that's the case?
So many of the things in the federal bill allowed states more freedom to do things with regards to benefit charging, with regards to work search. It did give states some more freedom to do that. And so this is something that Commissioner Susie Levine, the policy directors, is talking with the governor, and we're seeing what can we do? What makes sense? What should we? And we're talking with stakeholders as well to see, now that we have more freedom from federal controls, because one of the things that the folks here on the call may not know about is that federal law does dictate a lot of the things that what the unemployment insurance program can and cannot do. And the main hammer they have against us is that they can control the administrative funding that the agency gets. So if we are not conforming with federal law, they can take away our administrative funding, which means there's no unemployment insurance program. And then also employers have to pay the full FUTA tax rate, which is a 90% tax hike on their FUTA taxes, which I don't think anybody wants. So, but now that there's more federal freedom as to how states can design their unemployment insurance system, I mean, President Trump signed that bill 2 nights ago. So we're still trying to figure out, now that we have this freedom, what can we do with it and what makes sense for both claimants and employers.
Okay, I want to start getting into the questions because we have a lot of them coming through, and I may ask you some more questions about that. I'm going to start with one I got during the week, because people are trying to figure out layoffs, standbys, all those kind of things, and really, in a heartening way, wanted to take care of their team. Can I offer health care to my laid off employees during their standby, or will that disqualify them for unemployment insurance?
So health care does not count as wages. So the health plan that you pay to your employees does not count as wages, both on the tax side and on the benefit side. So it will not count against your employees. Okay.
Another one I got is, if I offer a severance package, but then it's done. So let's pretend that I laid someone off on Monday and I don't make up a number, gave them $500 or $1,000 severance to take care of themselves and immediate bills. Is that going to have any negative impact on their unemployment insurance?
It should not.
Okay.
As long as it was paid for a period before they were separated and not applied specifically to any week they're claiming benefits.
So they shouldn't act like they're paying them a week in advance. They should just call it severance and be done, so the clock can start on the unemployment. Is that what I heard you say, Kris?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Again, I'm looking through some of the questions I got. Lex, is there a chance to move the chat screen where I can see it a little bit better, or do I should put my glasses on? Come on, I have to put my glasses on. I'll go through some of the other ones that I got. If an employer has applied for shared work program and listed the employees there, is there anything additional the employees need to do?
The employees need to continue to report to work as is assigned by their employer. They do not need to be able and available for other work. And in fact, one of the things that they can do on shared work is they can actually access training benefits and training programs while they are while they are half-time employed or partially unemployed. So many employers during the last recession ended up putting a lot of their employees on shared work, and when they came back, they got employees who had more training and more skills than before they went on shared work.
Okay. I think that answers that question. Thank you. A lot of owners all of a sudden find themselves, do they apply for unemployment insurance? So if I've now shut my business down and I put my people on standby and I've been paying unemployment insurance on myself, am I eligible for unemployment as an employer?
So generally, corporate officers, for whatever reason, the legislature thought that corporate officers needed special treatment in the statute. Corporate officers are allowed the option to voluntarily elect to collect unemployment insurance. But this is an option that hopefully they would have taken a year or two prior to this because that's something that they needed to pay into the system for. If they elect that option now, unfortunately, they don't have a history of paying into the system to collect. So corporate officers could have chosen to opt into the system, and if they did, they are covered and they are allowed, so long as they either A, completely shut down their business, or B, have been permanently removed from the corporation as an officer. This is a reform that passed a few years ago because we had a corporation that have a husband and wife team that would take turns laying each other off and collecting benefits. So that's why the legislature requires people to permanently sever their relationship with the employer, permanently close down the corporation in order to collect unemployment benefits for the owners. However, for LLC members, sole proprietorships, there isn't a provision for those self-employed individuals to collect unemployment benefits.
If we trigger onto disaster unemployment assistance, that's where they might be able to get some assistance.
So yeah, and that's if the federal government, as in President Trump, does declare an emergency, he can authorize what's called disaster unemployment assistance, but that is up to the federal government at this point.
Exactly.
I want to try to recap because a lot of people have just never asked themselves this question before. If I am an officer in my company and I have chosen to be paying in unemployment during this temporary closure forced by the government for good reason, I am eligible for unemployment insurance?
You can be, as long as you can show that you have been permanently removed as an officer or that you have totally closed down the corporation.
So that your last sentence, I just want to make sure I understand. Sorry, so I'm going to push a little further. So I have to show that my corporation's closed down for good, or I have to show that the government has closed down my company?
Yeah, so the language that's in the statute does require that they be that it be a permanent closure.
Okay. And sole proprietors and another group of owners are not eligible at all for unemployment. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and that was the limited liability company owners or members.
All right.
Are not eligible.
Well, tough news, but honest news. So thank you for that. Yep. Flipping to a couple of other questions.
So, Kris, I am seeing a bunch of questions on here. Maybe you'd be the best person.
Going through that. Let's go ahead and go to the top flex, and I'll start picking these out. When full-time employment and sites. Okay, I think we already recorded. Well, Ellie's question here, the first one up. I think we've answered that, but does anyone want to tackle that one? Can you guys see the
Oh.
questions, Kris and?
Which one is Ellie's? Let's see.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, no. Okay. There you go.
Down, Lex. There you go.
Is that the one about when a full-time employee is notified that they have been denied UI benefits and the notice cites that the employee did not work full-time hours? Is that the question you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay, so the one of the things that we're hearing a lot is people are just blanketly saying we were denied. If this is regarding standby, they were only denied standby. If they have a valid claim, they are and otherwise eligible for benefits, their claim has not been denied, just their work search waiver. So that's an important distinction because we keep hearing they were denied, they were denied, they were denied, but it's only the standby part of it that was denied. If somebody was denied for standby, they do have to make an active search for work. But in this particular case, it sounds like somebody may have answered their question on the application, saying that they were not full-time, and that would fall under the blanket group of people who were denied as part-time workers. Without more details about that particular scenario, we need to talk about it, unless you're talking about the number of hours the claimant has during their base year. Is that what this question is asking?
I don't know if there's a way for Ellie to ask you, but I think generally what I heard you say is if they were denied, be patient because by next Wednesday they should hear something. And then you'll give us an email if you have everything by next Wednesday of how they can follow up.
Yeah.
And then if there's more details, Ellie, we'll come back to that one.
Perfect.
Let's start at the bottom for the people who ask questions first, because it looks like these are coming from the top. So go all the way down to the bottom. Okay. Hey, the first one was me. All right. Are they waiving the 4-week limit for employee? I'm looking at Pam's question there, if you can see it. Are we waiving the 4-week limit for employee initial request for standby?
We are in process of expanding the standby rules. Stay tuned. Changes should be coming in the next, if not today, early next week.
Okay. The 8-week thing you've already mentioned is that's what's in statute, or that's what the rules are now, but that is being considered.
Yes.
I think we talked about employers' unemployment insurance. How can I apply if I don't hear back? Can I, if I have not heard back from a denial letter, can I go ahead and use some of my initial other benefits available to me while I'm waiting? So let's pretend I applied Monday and I got a denial letter. Can I switch quickly to use some of my other options while I'm waiting to hear back from ESD?
That applies to the employer. I mean, that would be the employer's decision on what kind of pay they use, right?
Okay. So the option is yes, but be aware, depending on timing of how this all falls, it could be deducted. But if you're denied for this week, then I would see what you can take care of.
And you can decide in the middle of your unemployment claim that you want to take if you have paid leave available, to switch over to paid leave, and then you can just not claim that week. You don't have to claim week after week after week in order to stay eligible for unemployment. If you want to take a week off because you have some paid time off that's only became available to you, please do that. Take care of what's in your economic self-interest.
So how do they change their claim date and all those kind of things? So they started once and they're making those changes, Scott. Can they just go into somewhere and change the date or do other stuff?
I can take this one if you'd like, Scott.
Go for it.
So once you have an unemployment claim open, it's good for a year. So you can open and close it as many times during that year that you want to. That you do not have to open a brand new claim each time you have a segment of unemployment. So basically, if I file my claim last week and I decide this week I don't want to claim, all I need to do is reopen my claim next week.
Okay.
You don't have to change the start date of your unemployment claim.
Okay. Lexington School, sorry, I want to make sure. Lexington available all the time. Owners, we've answered. I'm going to ask one. Lex, can you find the next question we have and answers? I'm asking a different one. we employ a lot of people in our industry, and the clarity on whether or not they're legal workers or maybe they have some green card issues. Is there any reason that someone is worried about their green card or worried about their legal status? Are there any barriers in the unemployment insurance system?
Yes. I mean, if you must be legally authorized to work in the United States in order to be eligible for unemployment at both the time you earned the wages that make up your unemployment claim and each week that you claim benefits. So if any of those time periods you were not authorized to work, then you would not be eligible.
And
Okay.
that is a federal
Yes.
requirement that that was not changed in the latest congressional act.
Okay. So whatever the news is, and it's tough, but it's clear. If you have someone worried about green card issues or their legal status, they should be aware that if they're not considered legal to work because of an immigration issue, they will not be eligible for unemployment, even if they've been putting into the unemployment system over the last 6 months or more. Okay.
Can I just clarify real quick something you just said?
Yes.
Employees do not pay into the unemployment fund. It's all employer funded. So we do hear a lot of claimants say, but I paid into it. They didn't.
Okay.
That's all employer funded.
But the employer had been paying on those hours.
Right.
Yes. Good. Fair point and good clarification. Lex, what's my next question here? Can you just tell me out loud? Oh, okay. Will unemployment be paid out to workers affect tax rates for 2021? So my unemployment insurance, how does that work with my taxes and my tax rates?
So as of the current law, as of today, there are two ways that these unemployment benefits are not going to count towards your tax rate. One is that if you had to close down your business as a result of a COVID-19 infection at the place of business, then you are eligible for relief of benefit charges. If you have some people who you placed on standby as a direct or indirect result of this outbreak, then some of those benefit charges are eligible for that $25 million pot of money I brought up earlier. Otherwise, unfortunately, a lot of these benefits are going to be charged to employers' accounts. The legislature may take some efforts over the in the next time it reconvenes to adjust that, but that's up to the legislature at this point. I know that during the last recession, the legislature came back with a plan that lowered tax rates for employers and raised benefits for employees. But ultimately, it's up to the legislature. So if you want to see tax relief, let them know.
Okay.
And when they reconvene, they can make whatever changes they want.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of paid sick leave questions, and I'm not sure this is your areas of expertise. And Scott and Kris,
No.
unless you tell me otherwise. What I will say is industry. Currently, we have 3 of our lobbying team. Lexi can say down below. 3 of our lobbying team, 3 lawyers, and 4 agencies trying to get us a single answer on what's going on with paid sick leave. We've got some stuff from the federal government. We've got city law. We have state law. We have what employers have done voluntarily, and we're as frustrated as everyone here on where's the clarity on what we do with paid sick leave and a temporary layoff or payout. And I'm assuring you that as soon as we can get 3 state agencies or government agencies to give us the same answer, we will get that answer out to you. And we are spending more time than I ever thought I would in just clarifying what we think the law is. That being said, I'm seeing, for an employer, how can I get the e-services so I can approve claims faster?
The same way that claimants do. Actually, the portal that you use to pay your unemployment taxes, EAMS, honestly, I don't know what that stands for, but you should be able to access through there or through your SAW account, because you have to have a SAW account to use EAMS, correct, Scott?
Yes, you do have to use a SAW account to use EAMS. And if you want, I can. I have the URL ready for you for folks to sign up for e-services both on the employer and the employee side.
Can they see the screen, Lex? Oh, go back one after you've done that. We're going to show the screen. I was going to ask you, this is where they would learn more about it. Lex is going to share the screen. Lex, can you go back one on the one you run over here?
All right. Oh, yep, that's it right there.
Sign in for e-services, which Lex got right off the main page. You can find a place for employee and employers and walk through that right there.
Yep.
Okay, that's right off the main page. Okay, go back to questions and answers. I've got another one here. Where did it go? I had it right in my hand. If an employee's legal status is in question and they believe they're legal and there's other stuff going on, when statuses are in question, does that unemploy? We know clearly, I heard you say, if they're not legal, and therefore they can't collect unemployment, and that's a federal rule. What happens when their status is just in question? Does that impact receiving unemployment insurance benefits?
As part of the application, we ask for their green card number or any kind of visa that they have that allows them to work in the United States. And we do verify that with the Department of Homeland Security. We have to abide by the decision that Homeland Security sends us. So they will let us know what the status is.
Another one I got here is a couple of employees who had worked full-time for the past 4 years still got a denial saying that they had to work 680 hours. Is there any way they can jump the system to do that, or do they have to wait for the letters to come?
So the most important thing is when they get that denial, they will also get a monetary eligibility letter that lists out all of the employment that was in their base year. The biggest and most important thing to do is verify that all of your employers show up on that letter, because that's what the claim is based on. It's also based on the number of hours and the earnings that the employers during that time period reported. If the claimant happened to work outside of the state of Washington, that's important to know too, because hours that are work that was performed outside of Washington in the last 18 months can be used to help qualify for a claim as well. So it just depends on what's on that monetary eligibility letter that they receive.
So when they get their initial letter and they're waiting for a callback or another outreach from you, they should go through and verify the hours that they do have. Use that time you've been given, so that way when you do reach back out, you're ready to go. Well,
we wouldn't reach back out. If they find an error on that monetary letter, they're going to need to contact us so we can investigate where the missing employment is. We don't reach out to do that.
No, I just know. And the only reason I said it that way, Kris, is I heard you were reaching back out to everyone who's been denied.
Only on the standby.
Only on the standby.
They're going to get a new letter on the standbys.
Thank you.
Yes.
Going back to some of the immigrant issues we talked about, what about DACA recipients or people who have work visas and they are here legally, but they're under some program? Then are they eligible for unemployment?
As long as they are legally authorized to work in this nation.
Okay. Here's an interesting one. What if they have a server waitress who just went on maternity leave? And I'm assuming they're applying for paid family leave. Will they be eligible when they come back, or even maybe if they're a small employer and they're not in the state's system? How does that work?
Go ahead, Scott.
So if somebody has gone on maternity leave, they are potentially eligible for paid family and medical leave, and actually paid family medical leave is a higher dollar value benefit than unemployment insurance. So it'd probably be best for that particular person to try to use up all of their paid family medical leave that they're eligible for first, and then try to resort to unemployment insurance. let's say after the baby is born, they've recovered, they're ready to re-enter the workforce, and yet they can't because this nonsense is still going on, then they can then again access unemployment insurance once they are able and available to re-enter the workforce.
Okay. So if they're on maternity leave, they should apply for paid family leave because they're going to get the most bang for their buck.
That's what's recommended
in that area. Okay. Got a question from Jerry. Is there any minimum hours that someone? Oh, you jumped there, Lex. Is there any minimum hours an employee must be reduced to eligible for standby? For example, go ahead.
You want to look at what's practical. I saw the question and it said if they were only reduced 3 hours a week, they're still going to have to report earnings that they earned during that week, and then those earnings will be deducted from their weekly benefit amount. So if the amount they earn still is in excess of what they're eligible for, it wouldn't make any sense to put them on standby because they're not going to be eligible for benefits anyway. But if they're eligible for even $1 of benefits, they would normally have to do a work search. So if the 3 hours that they were reduced still means that they would be eligible for unemployment benefits, they would normally be eligible. They normally would want to apply for standby.
So when I hear you say that, Kris, really, if there's even a snowball's chance that the people are going to come back for you, the best thing you can do for your team is put them on standby. Because right now, there's not a lot of work available.
Mm-hmm.
So if you even have a whisper of a prayer of bringing these people back, the best thing you can do is put them on standby because that reduces the job search requirements. Is that an accurate statement, or would you guide me to say that differently?
That sounds fine. And I would add on there that if there is a week that they do work more than what they would be eligible for, that week of standby doesn't count, but it doesn't automatically extend the number of weeks that are part of that original approval. They would have to request that later.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
The other thing too is that with shared work, for folks who are reducing their hours of work in order to get on shared work, the range is a reduction of 10% to 50%. So 3 hours is probably for somebody who's working full time is not going to get you to that 10% minimum. But if you get them, if you reduce them by 4 hours, then you get to 10%. At which point they can then access shared work.
Okay. There's a lot of confusion on 680 hours, and I saw someone's question below, and honestly, I thought I heard the same thing. No one has waived the 680-hour limit in anything, or is there even rumblings about it? I thought I had seen something in the news on it, as well as one of the people who had posted something. So the 680 hours worked in the past 4 work quarters. There's nothing in the works have been announced on that one that changed that.
We are considering all options. I do note that there are lots of people frustrated about the 680-hour threshold because it is a pretty high threshold. For example, Oregon's threshold is 500 hours. But at this point, that has not been waived. And there's nothing firmly enough in the works to even begin to announce. It is something that has been considered. It is something being discussed. But at this point, we're still trying to explore all of our options to try to change a pretty hard line that's been written in a state statute. And if you waive the 680-hour threshold completely, just by taking the whole statute out of existence, then anybody who has worked even half an hour then is eligible for unemployment benefits. So we're trying to find a way to basically see, yeah, we understand 680 hours is a hardship for a lot of people, but we also don't want to open it up to everybody. So just trying to strike that balance and find a way to do that with a state statute that the legislature did not change before they went out of session.
Okay, so good news, bad news. Bottom line is where we're at is 680 still in place.
Yep.
A question I get a lot: unemployment insurance. Many of our workers are at or near minimum wage, so they're right around $34,000 a year in income. What percentage wage replacement, if you're under the state's average weekly wage, does UI reimburse?
So the website that I think we sent you that has estimate your benefit, we can't give you a definite percentage because it's all based on what employees earn during their base year. And some base years they've earned more than others. But the website that it says estimate your benefit, it is the one that says unemployment/calculate your benefit.
Over
ESD/unemployment/calculate your benefit.
Good.
ESD.wa.gov. Oops, you forgot a dot after ESD.
And while he's looking that up, the other question I've been asked, and honestly, I think I've been a little confused on this answer as well. Unemployment benefits, are those subject to federal income taxes?
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
Well, that's something we have to change. Okay, hit return there, Lex.
What's the rest of the URL?
Yeah, okay, so after the slash, it's unemployment/calculate dash calculate.
You go down to,
Whoops.
there you see Lex, go back one.
Yeah. Back up a little.
Back up again more.
One more.
Sorry, and then go down to, see it's coming up automatically.
There it is. So that one has a calculator on it. So if you scroll down, it allows you to enter your 2 highest quarters that you had during your base year. And then you can hit calculate and it will calculate what your estimated benefit amount is.
Okay.
The minimum weekly benefit amount right now is $188 and the maximum is $790 per week. So it just depends on how much they earn during their base year. That determines what their weekly benefit amount is.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
And Lex, thanks for letting us backseat drive the internet search. All right, go back to the questions. I think I've got a lot of ones in my hands answered. Let's keep online. Is Social Security considered reportable income?
Talk to your accountant.
Yeah, it's probably not a UI question.
Well, if you're talking about weekly, when they're filing their weekly claims, Social Security is not reportable.
I have a SAW account, but that function, I need that function unlocked. I can't get anyone to respond. How can someone who has a SAW account that's become locked get it unlocked?
Believe they have to go through Secure Access Washington to do that. Or is it to file an unemployment claim, or is it to get signed up for e-services for the employer?
I'll tell you what, Melissa, we want to help. So if you want to, will we have access to all the questions at the end?
Yeah.
Melissa, if you want to email me at anthony@wahospitality.org, I will try to get that specific question on and see if someone can get you some help. And we'll take it from there. Regarding claim year, will the employee be denied if regular benefits were used up for the claim year, even if they meet the 680 threshold? Will they have to wait until the benefit year restarts?
That's an EB question, extended benefits question, it sounds like.
I don't know what you mean by that, Kris, sorry.
So if somebody already has an existing claim and they've exhausted all benefits available before the end of their claim year, currently there is no extension of benefits.
Okay.
I don't know whether we are going to trigger on to extended benefits or not. That has a specific number of claims that we have to hit before we can trigger on to anything like that. So at this time, we can't say that there's anything left.
And again, for a lot of people who are flat out rookies to the system, Kris, so forgive the simplicity of this question, are claim years a rolling 12 months or are they each calendar year?
It's a rolling 12 months. So if I applied this week, my claim would expire on 3/13/21.
Okay. I'm going to go down to Eric. Erica's question, if an employer signs up for unemployment, if an employee accidentally signs up for regular employment instead of standby, do we as employers just respond by requesting standby for them?
You mean when they file their unemployment claim, their initial application, they don't sign up for standby, they skip that screen? Then yes, you can, as the employer, you can sign them up for standby.
Okay.
But until they are actually approved, they have to make the job search. So it would be in everybody's best interest to reply to the request for separation information as soon as possible.
Okay.
So Kris, I got a question for you. If I'm an employee and I've just been told that I've been furloughed or temporarily because business is closed temporarily, what do I write down as my separation reason in order to qualify for standby?
So it's going to depend on the situation the employer is in. If the employer had to shut down business completely and they had to lay off their staff, that would be laid off due to lack of work. Now, if they are just reducing the number of hours available for staff, there is an option for people who are hired full-time, have their hours reduced to no less than 16 hours a week, and intend to bring them back to work within 4 months, called currently working reduced hours. And if that option is selected, they could be eligible for that and not have to look for work. Other reasons for separation just depend on the reason that the employee was let go or separated. Don't say fired unless they were actually fired. And don't say labor dispute or strike or lockout. We have had a number of people who said I was locked out because the employer was closed. That sets a labor dispute like a strike, and that delays benefits. So.
Okay, did we get Julian and Julie Seneco's question answered, Lex? I know you were scrolling down to find that. So can you find Julie's question and see if we've gotten that one answered right there? If my employer were denied unemployment benefits since the standby benefit status, do we put them on until the 4-week period is over? How do we go about appealing to make sure that they are covered? I think you answered that one, but do you feel that was your answer you just gave, Kris?
That was a little bit different. If somebody was denied standby because they are part-time employees and not full-time employees, we are going to be doing the redeterminations, I understand, this weekend to send out the new standby approval letters for those who fall into that category. There may be other reasons that somebody was denied standby, but the ones for part-time are supposed to be taken care of, and our website, our unemployment system, computer system is supposed to be updated with so that it doesn't automatically deny very soon.
Okay.
Can I respond to Brenda's question, because she's responding to my strike or lockout? If you get an unemployment claim that says they were on strike or lockout, please respond immediately. My people here in the policy unit work those issues. Those are the only issues that we actually do work. And as soon as you can respond to that, the better, so that we can get the right reason for their separation, including the dates, and we can get the claim going.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just going to start going question by question here and get as many as I can. We have you until 11:30. Is that accurate?
Sure.
I think the Outlook calendar invite said to 11, but we'll hang around for another 15 minutes.
Let's see if we get as many answered, but we'll do some quick shots. The rejection on standby was the employee asked for more than 8 weeks. Do the employees need to only reply for 4 weeks on standby? On Julian's question.
Yeah, employees can only request 4 weeks when they file their application. Up to 8 weeks can be requested by the employer at this time.
So should our declined part-time refile this Sunday?
You mean re-request the standby? No, because those that were denied because of part-time status on their standby, those letters will be reissued. It should be reissued as allows. And it's really important that that people make the distinction between filing and being denied on their unemployment versus filing and being denied on their standby. Standby doesn't deny unemployment. It just means they have to look for work.
Okay.
They should still file their weekly claim every week.
I'm just trying to read each question and see if we've already been answered. I believe you answered Brenda's. Going through, how do I reply to the request for employer information on the ESD website? I can't find the place to do that.
That is through the e-services portal for employers. So if you got an email that says we need additional information from you, if you had already signed up for e-services, then you can reply through the e-services portal. If you have not signed up for e-services and you received a paper document, then you can respond by paper by faxing it in or mailing it in, or you can go open up an e-services account and respond that way. But until you have an e-services account, you can't respond online.
Okay, thank you. I think the last question was Charlie. So Lex, who was right under Charlie? What was a minimum and a maximum? I'm guessing that was the minimum and maximum benefit, correct? And I think we showed
Yes.
those.
It's what
Go ahead, sorry.
188 a week is the minimum weekly benefit amount, and 790 is the maximum weekly benefit amount. And that changes every July.
Okay. Well, hopefully we're done with this by July.
Please let us be done by July.
I'll stay away from each other until then. Tips. Are tips included in the calculation for unemployment insurance benefits?
As long as they were reported by the employer.
Okay.
And if they weren't reported by the employer, the claimant can contest what has been reported by the employer by providing evidence that they were paid more money. And if they do that, then they can get more benefits.
Okay.
I will add to that if they are continuing to work during this time period and they're claiming partial benefits, if they receive tips, those are reportable as wages as well when they file their weekly claims, because they are deductible from unemployment.
Question from Kathy. What category in the credentials dropdown do you recommend using for a DACA recipient?
That must be on the authorization to work question on the initial claim. I'm not sure what DACA falls under, but they have to have some type of authorization card, and all the ones that I'm aware of are listed on the website for the dropdown. So I honestly don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. Kris, if you learn it later, can you email me the answer and we'll add it to our running list of Q&As?
I can.
Thank you so much. And again, I can't tell you how much I appreciate all your work on this. I think we answered the shared work question from Lori. I'm going to Sonia's. Can an employee use their vacation time? So yes, sorry. To this question right here, I would say, again, coming back to what I heard you say is employees should use the benefits that best take care of their financial situation. And so
that's a great answer.
And so if they're eligible for vacation time, they're eligible for it. So unless it's something specific in your employee manual, is what I would understand. Better to call or go online? What I heard you say is online is going to be better because the sheer amount of calls. Is that an accurate statement?
That is an accurate statement. They also have an alert up on our ESD website talking about the demand for agency services. So if you go to the website and you click on alerts, actually it's not up there under alerts. If you go to the ESD newsroom and alerts, then it should pop up there. You can go, yeah, there you go. And alerts.
Okay. What are we looking for there? Do you see it?
Hang on a second. Let me see if I can find it for you.
That's okay. Just I want to take good use of our time, and I'm gonna take 10 minutes of you. So, if that's another thing you can send us for Q&A, we'll go from there. And tips, confirming, shared work, e-services. I think a lot of these we've been answered, but I'm trying to get everyone I can. Clearly, this is not what I do for a living. Thanks everyone for your patience with me. If employer, I think we've answered many of these questions. Does anyone see anything on this page we've not answered yet? No, I'm going to scroll down to the next page. Oh,
So I did receive a private question asking how sustainable is this, given that there's $4.7 billion in the trust fund and as many as 80% of restaurant employees could be filing claims. We have a team of rockstar economists who are working and running these numbers, day after day, hour after hour, trying to make sure and give everybody as much of an estimate as far as the trust fund. We do have one of the healthiest trust funds in the entire nation, top 3, if not number 1. So we have lots of confidence in the trust fund. At the same time, there are a couple backups for claimants if in the unlikely situation that we do run out of money. First off is that the U.S. Department of Labor does have bailout money ready for for states that have to borrow money in order to continue to pay benefits. Over half of the states during the last recession, not Washington, but over half of the states in the last recession did have to borrow money from the federal government in order to continue to pay benefits. That is a backup, so we can continue to pay benefits, but we do eventually have to pay that money back to the federal government. And that's something that we're glad and proud that we didn't have to do in the last recession, but that's not something. But that is something that we would be prepared to do in order to keep the money flow of benefits continuing to the folks who need it.
Yeah, and we are really proud of that system. We work hard with you, ASC, in a partnership to build the money in the good times. So no one saw this one coming, but we know economic cycles happen, that we're not increasing taxes on people when they need to, need the money the most. So we do have one of the most efficient UI systems in the country. And ESD, thanks for all your partnership as we work to constantly improve. The couple of different things. One, we haven't talked about, but we were asked by the grocery industry to announce on this call that they have tens of thousands of jobs right now that they need to fill. So if you're working with your team and trying to get them employed, I said, well, where should they go? And they said, honestly, go to any grocery store right now. They'll probably hire you.
I heard the same thing on the news.
Particularly in 2 areas. One, your customer service folks and in the front end know how to deal with people are highly valuable, and they already have food worker cards. Because of the sudden need, they are dying for people with food worker cards. 2, on the housekeeping, on the lodging side, the need for higher cleaning measures as the grocery stores are more crowded than ever, and the experience of working with cleaning chemicals and being safe cleaning chemicals are highly desired right now. So if you have team members who need anything, encourage them. We want everyone to stay employed and engaged and have opportunities now. If that ESD gig didn't sound interesting to you, that there are jobs they're hiring for, I'd walk around the corner of your closest grocery stores and see what they can do. And honestly, our community needs those grocery stores as well. So that's other news. Kris, I think I opened with Scott. Let me close with you initially. Is there anything you'd hope to tell the industry that you didn't get a chance to say?
I used to be one of you guys. I worked in both the hotel and the restaurant industry, so I do understand the struggle that everybody's going through. I know it's hard to be patient, but the biggest thing that I can say is please be patient. We're dealing with a very high volume and trying to get back to everybody as quickly as possible.
Okay. Scott, same question to you.
Just thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. It's really heartening to know that we're all in this together. We're all trying to help each other make it through, and it fills me with a lot of pride in this state and in the work that we do, that we're all trying to help each other survive what is a really interesting and dynamic economic times. And it just gives me all the more inspiration to keep going at it and trying to help other people.
Well, I hope the two of you will pass on to everyone on your team. We've repurposed our 11 reps in the field to be Q&A answers and help. So please, if you need to get the word out, if something changes, if a link is better, over communicate with us and we'll get the word out. Also, if there's another round of rules because of a new round of emergency stuff, and I hope you'll be open to coming back to us and explaining new information we might have or other ways we can help provide clarity in the system.
The best thing to do is keep monitoring that Q&A website on our page. We are updating it as quickly as new information comes to us.
Is that under unemployment? Let's
Yes.
take a look at that thing one more
If
time.
you go to the homepage for esd.wa.gov, it's that banner that's right up at the top.
Yep.
Oh,
And also be friends with us on Facebook.
Yes.
well, why not? That's a good thing. Get to see a picture of your dog, which would be great. I thank you for being on the call, Lex. This is a webcast, correct?
Yes, it's going to be. It's
so our phenomenal communications director. When will people who want to get this onto their HR directors or to fellow employees or fellow owners be able to forward this along?
This will be available this afternoon.
So sometime this afternoon. Lex, can you show off our cool website that you launched this week?
Yeah, this is the coronavirus resource page. Oh. And we've consolidated all of the information for the industry as it relates to the hospitality industry and effects from the coronavirus outbreak. Everything here. This is both links and articles that the team has put together over the last week, and just in the past 7 days, we've added over 200 pieces of content on here. And so hope you take advantage of it. It's not members only, it's available to everyone. It's because we want the whole industry to benefit from this. And so please do take advantage of it.
And this link will be under webinars videos or under, can you scroll down a little Lex?
Yeah.
No, scroll from right here, scroll down. Sorry, it's always interesting when your backseat mouse. A little further, under employee financial help. Was it safe to assume that under unemployment insurance that we will link the webcast here for people to find?
Yes.
Okay. So if you like this and there's people you think would benefit from learning from it, later this afternoon there will be a link right here. Also on Monday, we're doing one with the Small Business Administration to help with SBA loans and answer all the questions we can on there. 10 o'clock, same bat time. If you go to that webinars and videos, I think we will have a notice up there.
Yes, today we will.
But if any of your folks are really interested in what SBA relief is coming our way, we're proud to be partnering with the Association of Washington Business. Do everything we can to get you all the information you need. I hope everyone has a safe and healthy and secluded weekend, and let's hope seeing those numbers start to drop. Good luck, everyone. And again, Kris and Scott, thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure.